I've got a cupboard with cans of food, filtered water, and pictures of you. And I'm not coming out until this is all over. And I'm looking through the glass, where the light bends at the cracks. And I'm screaming at the top of my lungs, pretending the echoes belong to someone. Someone I used to know. And we become silhouettes when our bodies finally go. I wanted to walk through the empty streets and feel something constant under my feet, but all the news reports recommended that I stay indoors. Because the air outside will make our cells divide at an alarming rate until our shells simply cannot hold all our insides in, and that's when we'll explode. And it won't be a pretty sight. And we'll become silhouettes when our bodies finally go. Oh, I didn't see you guys come in. Welcome to Thomas Hunt Show. Today is Wednesday, March 18th, 2020. Let's see what's happening. The price of Bitcoin is about even, 0.09% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 5,354, a high of 5,560, and a low of 5,067. Checking out this $1 for 18,743 Satoshis. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is at a last of $20,003, down 5.94% so far on the day. The previous close was 21,237. That's 1,262 points down today. Coronavirus update, 208,000 cases in the world, 8,272 deaths, 82,000 recovered. Stay the fuck home. That's it. Like this video. Liking this video helps more people find this video. And when you're done liking, subscribe and hit the bell for notifications so you know when the show is on. Bitcoin faces another down day as equities reject stimulus efforts. Bitcoin is once again feeling the pull of gravity as investors offload risk in traditional markets, despite the massive U.S. stimulus package, allegedly, this week. The top cryptocurrency by market value is currently trading near $5,050, having failed to establish a strong foothold above 5,500 late Tuesday, according to CoinDesk. Prices were better bid 24 hours ago when global equities were flashing green. Sentiment, however, soured during Wednesday's Asian trading hours, and futures tied to the S&P 500 fell by 5%, triggering a limit down, the maximum percentage decline possible in one trading day. Whoa. Bitcoin price hitting 2.8K, not scary, before main halving, according to some guy called Tone Vase. He always anticipated this. It's not scary. So once again, massive virus, hundreds of thousands of people sick, but he's not taking that into his model. Okay, all right. Venezuela shuts down banks amid panic. Bitcoin trading soars. That sounds good. Ominous Bitcoin price pattern spotted by top market analyst. Bitcoin is on shaky ground. Another sell-off by Wall Street. And the formation is a bearish pennant, which resembles a triangular flag. It appears when certain asset records an immense price drop and fails to recover. He believes that this right here is a bearish pennant, that the Bitcoin price, according to Satoshi Flipper on Twitter, the Bitcoin price will lose the 4,700 level and test 3,800, which he expects to hold. A risk-off disaster. Gold, Bitcoin, bonds fall in sync on rising cash demand. And really, the headline says it all, right? People just want cash. They want risk off. They want out of this scary market. Not that cash is even that safe, especially when they're printing so much of it. But anyway, they want cash, not Bitcoin. Should you buy Bitcoin right now? Should Warren Buffett buy the Bitcoin dip? Best reason to buy Bitcoin right now, revealed by analyst. And here it is again, the chart of the coronavirus. This is what happens when some of us stay home, and it slows the spread of the virus. The more people staying home, the better it slows the spread of the virus. Let's slow the spread of the virus. Let's stay home. Ultimate Medical Hackathon. Let's build an open source ventilator. We need more ventilators. We've got open source. We've got hardware hackers. You're stuck at home. It's time for a project. It's Apollo 13 time. Let's build a ventilator. Come on. Coronavirus cases in the United States continues to spike, looking like an exponential curve. Reminder from geometry class, exponential curves. The green one goes straight up and then curves over like an S curve. Geometric curves like the blue one just go up a little, and linear curves go up like in a line. That's why it's linear. Coronavirus, COVID-19. This is our enemy. The red spikes are the crowns. This is the killer. Checking out Twitter, let's see what's been going on in the last 22 hours. Stay home, quarantine works. Is Italy turning the corner? Latest cases per day from Italy appears to be down from an all-time high of 3,590 to 3,223. It's only one day of information, but it is possible that they have flattened the curve, or at least are starting to in Italy. A little bit more of the data, the new cases per day, and also the new deaths per day are showing a slight downward trend in Italy. It is possible that they've flattened the curve. Kyle Torpy is stuck in Peru. Shout out to Kyle. Kyle says he was eating a steak in a restaurant in Peru last night when the president came on television to shut out all international travel in and out. People are only allowed to leave the house for groceries and medicine. There's maybe 100, he says later 200 Americans trapped in Cusco alone with him. Many are saying in the chat, time to have another steak and extend your vacation in Peru. I don't know what you're doing down there right now, but it's a funny coincidence, and I hope you're safe, and I hope that Peru takes this well. But if you were traveling, as I decided not to, you could have been stuck in one of these random places. The funniest thing, my neighbors across the street are moving. I don't know if you guys can imagine doing this in this environment, but they're moving across the country from Las Vegas to South Carolina, and they're doing it right now. I mean, you got to do it. It's on your schedule. He's guy's got a new job there. He's got his old job here. He's got a future. He's got a life out there. But as far as your ability to stay home, your ability to self-quarantine, your ability to stock up on food, and just your energy, your focus, everything else that you're going to need to get through the madness of this. Okay, quarantine means 40 days, right? Let's put that on the board. They're talking about a month, so that's a possibility. 6 to 8 weeks is, a month and a half, 2 months. So I don't know how long we're going to be stuck in here. I don't know how long we're going to be surviving on our own food and the things that we gathered beforehand. I suppose eventually one could go to the grocery store, but you risk infection. So I don't know. I think we're inside for a long time here. And I wish my neighbors the best of luck on their crazy cross-country move, but I think it's a very bad time for it. So it's interesting to hear the greatest microphone in the world cutting out occasionally on me, or maybe my headphones are, but I don't know. It drives me crazy. Anyway, let's see what else is going on. According to CNBC yesterday, restaurants provide 50% of the food for Americans. Maybe having the military deliver MREs isn't such a bad idea. As you know, restaurants are mostly closing, mostly going out of business. Many have fired all of their wait staff, all of the people that waited on tables, because it's delivery only now. It's pickup only now. And likely most restaurants are family businesses, and it's time to go back to the family workers that you probably don't have to pay. They are down to the threads, and we are just getting started. If this thing lasts a month, restaurants use the previous month, bars use the previous month's sales to pay for the next month. There won't be any sales. There'll be no next month for a lot of these restaurants. So crazy, crazy times. Jared Leto writes, he says, wow, 12 days ago I began a silent meditation in the desert. We were totally isolated. No phone, no communication, etc. We had no idea what was happening outside the facility. And a pretty crazy story, though he kind of ends up trying to make it about himself, I think. But imagine that, Rip Van Winkle out in the desert. Maybe you knew a little bit about it before. It was in China, and we all thought it would come here, and now it has. And he comes out, and the whole world has changed. Everyone is virus crazy. Everyone's staying inside. People have been stocking up on food. You're a fancy celebrity, but what are you going to do now? Somebody's getting Jared Leto over at their house. Hey, can I crash there, man? Can I bum off your infinite virus supplies? You got any extra anything? So, pretty crazy. The other one that's going on right now won't be quite as fun for my American viewers or for me, really. But in Germany, they have this TV show, well, like everywhere. They have a TV show called Big Brother. And the contestants of the Big Brother show have not been told about the coronavirus. They may have known just like a little bit when they're in, a few weeks ago or these kind of things. But no, they're going to have a special episode tonight. They think it's going to fix the ratings for the show, which apparently has been doing too well. And they're going to reveal to everyone that there's a crazy killer virus out there and that they're stuck in the stupid Big Brother house. And I don't know what's going to happen. What do you guys think? Tell me in the chat. Would you, if you were in the Big Brother house and they said, hey, surprise, there's a killer virus going on outside. Obviously, I think you'd get the chance. You could say, hey, I want to leave the house. I want to stay in the house. I mean, I'm playing a game show, right? Am I going to play this game show till I die? I don't know. Maybe. And yeah, so it's going to be an interesting thing. I don't know what's going to happen. I'll have to read like a synopsis of it or that kind of thing, because meine Deutsch ist nicht gut. But that's a lot better than it used to be. So meine Spreche. I don't know. Whatever. But yeah, Jared Leto, funny story. Now we've got more from David Wallace Wells, the author of the book The Uninhabitable Earth, which is out in paperback today. And he says, while it may feel strange to even think of climate change now, we are in the midst of a more immediate and disoriented crisis. The crises echo each other in some unshakable ways. So climate change, pandemic, connected a little bit. So I'd like to thank the 20 viewers for joining us. We just started streaming 13 minutes ago, it says. And let me adjust the like bar so we can properly see if anyone likes this show. Remember, liking is how YouTube can tell other people that the show is good. And, it doesn't have to be the greatest show in the world, but, it has sound, it has good audio, it's not completely offensive. I don't know. It's a show that's worth recommending is all YouTube's looking for. And if you like it, that will help. So check out The Uninhabitable Earth. It's on my Kindle. I haven't read it yet. Plan B at 100 trillion USD writes, there's a big misunderstanding about the stock to flow model. That one red dot outside the blue bands invalidates the model. That is not true. Red dots have been below the band in 2010, 2012, 2016, 2019, and above in 2011, 2013, and 17. But the co-integration is strong, even now at 5,300. So we're checking out his stock to flow graph. It does really blow out of it a couple of times, almost as if we were looking at two different graphs. But it does kind of tighten up. I mean, you can see the bumps are pretty close. There's like some relation there. And it does kind of seem like we're due for another bump, but I don't know if it's going to be this straight up bump that he predicts. It doesn't look like except for back here in maybe 2010 that it really followed this straight up line too well. But in stock we flow, we trust, right? If there's less Bitcoin, there's less supply. If demand remains steady, the price will go up. Here's an unexpected side effect of the pandemic. The water flowing through the canals of Venice is clear in the first time in forever. The fish are visible. The swans have returned. And it's almost too good to believe, really. I mean, I've seen that water. It was kind of blue, but it was certainly not clear. And just to look at this, it looks like a completely different canal system. You can see all the through and look at the beautiful swans. They're having a similar thing in China where by quarantining everyone, by closing all the factories, by making everyone stay home, they had the unintended benefit of fixing their environment. People can breathe the air without masks. They can see stars at night. Unfortunately, people are probably just going to give this up when we round the corner and come back to capitalism, as they were talking about so much this morning on CNBC. This intention to get back to where we were as soon as we can, and the fear that we might not be able to. And there's two sides to that fear. A lot of the people on the CNBC this morning, they were talking just on the markets. Then there was Kramer. Kramer kept coming through and saying, what about the people? What about the food? And he would also check them on the demand. People would say, hey, BMW is a good stock because they have lots of money. The Venice story is fake. Oh, boo. All right. That's fine. I believe you. I don't believe, but this is a nice town, wherever it is. Oh, well. Got fooled on that one. So we'll take it. And even if they could be fooling us in the chat, but no, I believe them. But anyway, China, Venice, what are we going to do? Getting back to normal. Yeah, Kramer was talking about feeding people. Kramer was much more about the feeding people than he was getting back to the stocks and getting back to the profits. And he could start to see the large scale of this, the way it wrecks industry after industry. He was also questioning in a terrifying way the supply chain and the ability to continue supplying food. If everyone stays home, who's going to run the machine that makes the Cheez-Its, right? And if the machine doesn't make the Cheez-Its and put them in the plastic bag and put them in the cardboard box and ship them to the supermarket, there's no replacement. So all of the processed foods were down to whatever's in the warehouses now, which could be a lot. Twinkies last a long time. They might have made a bunch of Twinkies in advance, and they're just going to keep shipping them to stores. On your unprocessed foods, you got to have your farms and your farm processing systems. Those have to run. Farms, you can kind of keep running. I mean, you got to keep watering. You got to keep feeding the animals. Processing systems, you're going to need some kind of employees, some kind of workers. Social distancing, who really wants to be around a bunch of cow blood right now? But it's possible. They could keep it going. They could keep the food going. But you really have a skeleton crew. And at some point, terrify the libertarians, you're going to need probably a little bit of motivation. I don't know. You can call it force, whatever you want to call it. But, you've got to keep these farms running. You've got to keep the food supply running. We have to look at the basics. And what's so interesting about this, and, we can debate about this in better times, and we can debate about this now because everyone's stuck at home. So it's a great time to have a nice discussion about politics amongst friends and so on and so forth. But I always think as an individual, as a normal person, I want to get my basis covered first. I'm like, what am I going to eat? Where am I going to live? What's my job? What's my work? What do I do during the day? Those are your basis, right? You got to get those covered. As a government, as a society, you would think we'd have a better basis. And they're already talking about this, and they're talking about it with fear. I don't have the article here, but there was a Bloomberg article just came out yesterday, and they were talking how every major revolution has essentially started because of a pandemic. Something went really wrong in a society. They had a major pothole. They hit it. And then everyone remembers it. And they remember that the society is not invincible and it's not unchangeable. And that also that it's not fair. There's always kind of this undercurrent of it not being fair or someone being denied or so on and so forth, as if, for example, if we could have provided better medical care to X state, that had a really hard time with this thing, and we didn't get to them. So everyone in X state is going to be ready to rebel, ready to go on this thing. And that the pandemic may lead to a larger crisis, a larger problem. And in that case, what the article was warning us, the thing to be afraid of, is that people would actually start demanding that their basis be covered. That, okay, so not, again, we have degrees to these things. Are we going full on communist? Are we organizing all the businesses? Not really. But I think what we're talking about is healthcare. I think we're talking about universal healthcare for all. And then at a larger level, I think we're talking about food, drugs, and housing. We're talking about the basis for people. Because right now, what are we worried that no one's going to be able to pay because they don't have any savings and they don't have any money? They're not going to be able to pay their basis. They're not going to be able to pay the bills, the food, water, power, internet, bills that come in each month. They're not going to be able to pay the mortgage bill. They're not going to be able to buy food, and there might not be food there for them to buy. So those are our big world problems right now, right? In a better society, and it wouldn't be glamorous. I mean, no one likes the projects. No one likes MREs. No one likes government cheese. But in a pandemic-threatened society like our society, if we wanted to build a pandemic-proof society, what would we start doing? How would we structure our society differently? Thinking in mind that it's a big ship, a starship if you want, and that we just crashed into a wave. We just crashed into a how do you do pandemic, world's greatest virus. Let me see if I can get the picture up. Where is it? Too many tabs. Anyway, world's greatest virus, spiky balls of death, going to kill us all. How can we survive the next pandemic? Well, universal health care, pandemic stations, flu stations, starting to solidify a lot of this. They said that the Chinese mothballed their stations after SARS, after their last problem. And the great thing about mothballing and not destroying is if you do it right, you can just go back in there and turn them back on. And that's pretty much what they did with their fever stations. So that instead of going to the hospital and infecting everyone in the hospital, you go to a fever station or a drive-through fever station they're doing these days, and you get tested and checked there. So we're going to need a system to provide that. That's obviously clearly an expansion of existing healthcare. And in general, I think that people are going to start to see the interconnectedness of things. The big CEOs, I was watching them on CNBC this morning. It's funny, they're starting to expose their houses. They're not very clever. They could back their camera up against a wall, and then you really just know that I have a wall. And, I put a bookcase there and some nice stuff and it's a nice backdrop. But no, they have their whole living room. You can see all the beautifully designed, look like Swedish minimalist furniture. The bookcases matching up with the closet so they don't stick out. They were all built in, perfectly full with just the right number of books and all the little pictures and mementos. And he's only got one laptop. He doesn't have a second screen. He said he only had one tie at home as well, so he really wasn't prepared for a long television journey, as we're starting to see Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, and Colbert all did shows from home, they're calling them. And they weren't even really shows. They managed to get together a monologue. They're not ready for this YouTube world. They can't do a live call-in show or have random guests or whatever the flexibility that we have here. But they're in it now. They've been dragged right down to where we are. They don't have any of their. They have some help. They have scripts and stuff, but they don't have assistants and cameramen and all those things. And no one told them how to fix their backgrounds right. So it's going to be funny, and it's going to get funnier watching the news. But we were talking about society and how can we make it coronavirus proof in the future. Obviously, we had a bad reaction. We did bad all over the board. But next one. So they're saying in the chat, universal health care will probably bring mandatory vaccinations. And that might be scary to a lot of people, but In another way, we don't want smallpox coming back. We don't want measles coming back. The current anti-vaxxer movement is kind of leading to that. But that underlying fear that, of course, the fear is they're putting something evil, either accidentally or on purpose, into the vaccine that's making people sicker, whether it's giving them autism or whatever. They're worried that it's making them sicker than a vaccine needs to make you sick. So if it becomes mandatory, which is the way that you make it work, the way that you kill the diseases, the way that you scientifically win is you essentially do make it mandatory. A lot of people are going to freak out. A lot of people are not going to like that. What do you guys think? Why don't you give me a call right now? Bring up the graphics. This is the Thomas Hunt Show on the World Crypto Network. You can call now at 1-518-600-1949 or on Skype at World Crypto Network. We just have the one phone line, so whoever gets to it first can call in, and we'll see what you think about mandatory vaccines, expanding healthcare. How are we going to make a coronavirus-proof society? And it's going to be a lot more than just putting the poor maker of Corona beer out of business. What a sad name. I remember one of the first little memes I saw about coronavirus was poor old coronavirus beer. And what a tough marketing time it was going to be for them. And the article or the tweet or whatever really had some feeling for them. But now, a couple months in, and as it's just about to turn so much worse, gosh, can you imagine working for Corona beer right now? Oh, I just give up. Just the marketing department should just walk. But anyway, I do think we're going to expand Medicare for all. I think we're going to expand vaccines. We're going to expand testing. Hopefully, we're going to build more permanent structures so that we can fight this thing in the future. All right, going back to the present, Uvos would like his $2,000 a month so he can buy more Bitcoin. We're getting very close. Andrew Yang's idea, which the internet championed, of $1,000 a month, universal basic income, seems to be adopted by almost everybody now as a great way to fight the virus and to help people stay home. A lot of people, like myself and other people, are going to go totally broke and bankrupt on this. We can't go out. We can't make money. We can't do the things that we need to do. So this government aid is vital. It is needed. And Uvos is joking that he could go buy more Bitcoin. And sure, that'd be fine. But I think the rest of us are going to have to pay our bills, have to pay down the monthly minimums on the credit cards and pay the rents and buy more food. I don't know what we're going to do, Instacart or something. But yeah, it's getting right up to it. And they're starting to say, yes, we need checks. We need direct income to the people. This is the chance for the government to do something to make the future recession smaller. Why are we doing these things? In the future, it's going to be bad. In the near future, it's definitely going to be bad. People not having rent, not having money, getting kicked out, all kinds of chaos. Bad for the economy. Makes it longer for us to recover, slower. So giving these people money now, although you may not like it because they're getting it without working and this sets a bad precedent or whatever you want to say, but giving them the money now prevents larger crisis later. So hopefully that's what we're going to do. I don't know that it's going to be enough though. Yuval says 2,000. I've heard 1,000 a month. I saw Kamala Harris get almost laughed off Twitter yesterday for saying $500 a month, and she's from San Francisco, which wouldn't even pay a quarter of my rent when I lived there. Nightmare, absolute nightmare rent. Beautiful place, bad rent. But yeah, $500 a month. Others saying $1,500, $2,000. I wish somebody would really think out of the box, and it doesn't do good for me to say it. I'm just some kid in a box here. But how about $10,000? How about you give the people so much money that they start paying down their credit card bills, and we get this economy back to equal, starting at the bottom. Like we tried bailing out the banks a bunch of times. We tried bailing out the auto companies. I know we're going to bail out the airlines. We're going to own Boeing. I don't know that we're going to nationalize it, but the U.S. government, the American people, are going to own that shitty airline. To me, if you make bad software, if you have bad design documents, if you do all these horrible things and then you roll them out in something as big as an airplane, that's a big enough failure for me that you should go out of business. And I know America needs an airline and made to make airplanes at home and competitiveness and all these kind of things, but still, if you're not going to let an airline go out of business for making bad software, bad design documents, bad installations, bad training decisions, resulting in the fatal crash of multiple airplanes, I mean, and then now, the whole other travel thing, after we're done owning Boeing, we're going to own America Airlines, Delta Airlines, all those things. All these things are going out of business. So if you want to have them around, either the government's going to nationalize, buy them but not nationalize them, give them money generally, give them, a loan. We could call it a loan. We could have them pay it back the way they did with the auto companies. But yeah, we're going to own a bunch of airlines, maybe some cruise lines. If somebody thinks cruise lines are worth saving, those are some big boats. It took a lot of work to make them. We should probably still use them for something. So we're going to own some cruise lines, maybe some travel agents, some other companies, just in general, like who's going to have to be bailed out on the other side. And I don't know if the government's going to nationalize them, but in a very real way, get ready for your government to be investing in some of these businesses if we want these businesses to exist. Economically attractive man in the chat says the vaccine will probably make you sterile or cause permanent brain damage. Well, we don't know. We don't know that it will, and we have to think that the scientists are going to do the best they can. But yes, if it's a forced vaccine, blah, 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 I wonder a little bit about I don't know the right word or the right name. I wanted to just say generically as a tribe, people who live in the outback, people who live in the bush, people who live in the Amazon, right? Bush people or whatever, these tribes. There's only maybe one left right now, I think, that I'm thinking of, that are unconnected to the rest of humanity, that are all out on their own and they hunt and they fish and no one's ever gone there. There's never been an accidental photographer, an accidental traveling guy or whatever. There's been a couple of visits here or there, but they're just still isolated. Theoretically, they're okay because the virus hasn't got there. If we went there to tell them, it would probably be the worst possible thing because we'd spread the virus to them. But I do wonder about these little enclaves, and they're very small, where there are still original wild humans. I wonder about the Amish. How are the Amish treating this? They do have connection to society despite their preference for hooks and what are they called? No buttons. Buttons are evil. But they have a hook and a pulley system or something, but hooks and sticks or something. And you can use those to keep your clothes closed. Zippers, buttons are evil. But they do trade. They make quilts and other things, and then they go to town and they trade them, and they trade their eggs and dairy and other things. I imagine they're off the grid. They're cut off now, but could you imagine living in an Amish society where you don't really have doctors and you don't really have medicine, and this big killer virus comes in? And this leads to what we were talking about a few minutes ago, where I was saying, what if we have to give these people the vaccine? Like, is it forced? Are we saying, hey, Amish people, line up, you're getting the vaccine, and Bush people, you've never even seen anything in the world. I imagine we'll leave them alone. But the Amish are much more interconnected. A lot of these other groups, if you had, say, like a religious cult or a hippie commune, and you're living on your own land and you're not bothering anybody, and you still, that's the thing. That's where all this individualism breaks down. We all want it. We all want to be that individual. I take care of myself. I do my own things. I raise my own food, blah, blah, blah. But we're all interconnected. There's nobody out there. I mean, there's maybe one guy who's out there in his shack who goes out once a year to buy food, buys a ton of food, takes it to the shack. He's good till next year, right? He's good till the end of his food supply. And preppers, you can brag in the chat how long your food supply is and how long you're going to last and how you've been cycling it in and out for years, and you're used to eating ramen and tuna, and you've practiced and all these things and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I don't know how long people are going to survive on their stocks. And then when you go to the store to replenish your stocks, if there are no more stocks, I don't know what they think they're going to survive on. So I don't know. A lot of things happening. Who's going to get the vaccine? Will there be a vaccine? Are we going to fight this thing? Are we going to win? Breaking news as of yesterday, 17 hours ago. Governor Steve Sisolak is expected to announce Tuesday a statewide, Nevada-wide closure of restaurants, bars, and other non-essential businesses as the latest response to COVID-19. And Sisolak took this action quickly. He was angry in the press conference. He wanted it done right away. And the casinos are closing. They closed last night. All gaming machines must be off by midnight of last night. So we are now in a Las Vegas without gambling. The hotels are closing at the end of the day today. They have time to kick the last guests out and clean it up or whatever they're going to do. And then they're closing it all down. So Nevada is closed. Back to cryptocurrency for a minute. This is a funny story, an update on the Steemit blockchain trouble that we've been watching for days. Exclusive to CoinDesk, Steem community leaders will hard fork to a new blockchain on Friday, destroying the cache of Steem tokens held by Justin Sun Tron's Steemit. So basically, Justin Sun bought Steemit. He got a bunch of tokens. He had the ability to vote on things. And the Steemit community is now hard forking blockchain, creating a new blockchain to get away from Justin Sun and Tron. Justin Sun Tron. So this is an interesting story. We'll keep watching this, see what's going on. Obviously, I agree with everyone. There's going to be 2 Steemits now. There's going to be one of them backed by Justin Sun and his seemingly endless amount of money. And the other one's going to be this community thing. So, I don't know. I wish you guys the best of luck, but it's going to be tough to fight the Justin Sun Tron Steemit, which is going to just be full of money. So, yeah, the number of coronavirus cases in the UK is rising exponentially. I know people that aren't staying home. I know people that should be at home right now. Yeah, you know who I'm talking about. And everyone else, stay at home. It's going straight up. Straight up. This is the worst part of an exponential curve. Straight up. Here it is, a little show for you guys. Oh, come on, get the music out of there. You're going to take my rights. That music was fair use. Here's just a little bit of the last show at the Bellagio Fountains. Goodbye to Las Vegas. Goodbye to everything we used to know. In about a month here, the NFL was going to have their draft in the Bellagio Fountains. They were going to set up a platform out there. The player's name would be called. The player would walk across the stage on the fountains. They'd probably blow off a couple of bursts of the fountain to highlight the event, and the player would pick up the jersey and say, "I'm proud to be going to San Francisco. This is going to be amazing." It's not going to happen. The draft is going to be happening behind closed doors. It's just going to be like a normal draft, probably on the phone or Skype, and the players aren't going to be involved. There's going to be no show. But yes, this is the end. This is goodbye to the Las Vegas, to the shows, closing for America. Things are really slowing down here. So let's get this video off here before they take all my rights. Hey, shout out to Mr. B in the chat. Thanks so much for a 10-pound donation. He says, thanks for your continued efforts. And yeah, I like doing this show. It's a little easier when someone calls in or I have a co-host. I don't feel so much like a crazy person talking to myself for an hour. But if there's no one to call in and there's no one to co-host, I've got time to talk to myself for an hour. So, and I think it's valuable. It's good for you guys to think. It's good for me to think. We can just think some of these things out, and maybe it's not so bad, or maybe it is so bad, but there's nothing we can do about it. This is people keep calling this surreal, right? And let's do some internet fun there. Let's look up the word surreal. Having the qualities of surrealism. It's not a good definition. It also says bizarre. So let's look up surrealism. Let's try. Okay, so surrealism, a 20th century avant-garde movement in art and literature which sought to release the creative potential of the unconscious mind, for example, by the irrational juxtaposition of images. Nice. So we're talking about Dali. Obviously, they show pictures of Dali in the corner. There's Magritte as well. Very surreal. The faceless businessman with the apple over his face. That's a good one. But yes, surreal. Why is this surreal? Because it's bizarre. It's hyper real. It seems like everyone's saying that this is the worst Black Mirror episode ever. I was saying yesterday, it seems like a William Gibson book where we're in the stub. We're in the part of history where someone's doing a test and they're seeing how bad could it get. If you changed a couple of things, Hillary loses, Trump wins, how bad does it get? And then you just turn it off because it's a stub. It's just an experiment. The other one I liked, someone said on Twitter or somewhere, they said that this is like SimCity. This is like any other video game where it's getting towards the end of the game and the player is starting to close up shop. And what's bad is the players in the game, the individual people like us, the actors in the game, are starting to wake up. And that's ruining the game for the player. So the player may do what people do in SimCity, where you unleash a virus or you unleash a Godzilla and you close out some of your population so that at least people will focus on the Godzilla and not focus on the simulation and everything being fake. So stop waking up. maybe too many people are waking up to the realities of the simulation and the realities of the interconnectedness of people, and that we do benefit when we work together, and that we have been working together, and that there are many examples of us working together in the past, and that not every example of people working together is called communism. Maybe we'll learn that. But it has been a very surreal time. Going over to my man, Robert Reich, used to be Housing Urban Development Secretary, I think, under maybe Bush the first. I don't know. He's a classic guy. Maybe Bush the second. But he says, say it with me, universal vote by mail, universal vote by mail, universal vote by mail. And I've been saying vote by mail for years. You get a beautiful, wonderful paper ballot. People have time to vote. They can vote over weeks. They can access information while at home. They can look up articles and read about people right there. People with disabilities, other people can vote relatively easy with the bubble system, or they could be assisted by someone because they're at home. Their assistance, their family is right there. You can check the paper ballot afterwards. All you have to do once you've gone to vote by mail is have open source tabulator machines, open source in the hardware and the software, that we can verify before every run that they're properly counting the votes. And then we could actually have a clean election in this country. It would be amazing. Additionally, it's easier for people to vote. No one has to stand in line. No one has to wait at a polling place. No one has to get time off work. You can vote in the evening. You can vote in the morning. You can vote at lunchtime. You just fill out the ballot, fold it up, put it in the mailbox. Trusted system. We already use mail for business. Just keep using the mail system. The alternative is delay the election and Trump gets to be president for another year. We've never, ever done that. And I don't like it. But we can't have people going to polling places. I'm pretty sure this Tuesday, this was our last primary. Several of the primaries have moved to the future. Ohio said they didn't believe that their people would be safe, and I kind of agree. So they've moved all these primaries. We think Biden's going to be the nominee. But are we going to have an election? If we had vote by mail, we could still have an election. We could still be a democracy. Hey, check it out. Even in these turbulent times, I got to play a little Tetris yesterday, and I took down the field. Tetris Maximus, #1, with a bullet. It's a great game. Tetris 99. You get to compete against 99 other players in Tetris at the same time, and they send pieces back and forth, and it gets really intense. It's a great game. Say, UVOS extra year for Trump. I know, I don't like it, but if we can't vote, we can't vote. And I'm not a fan of the president, but he is the president. So I would guess an extra year. They say no election means Pelosi would become president of the United States. That might be possible. I generally am up on constitutional issues, but I don't exactly know what happens if we're not able to have an election. I know if the president was impeached, if the vice president was impeached, Secretary of State Nancy Pelosi would be third in line. She would be president then. But if the president is unable to have a re-election, to have an election, I don't know. Somebody, if anybody knows, write it in the chat, and I'll tell everybody what we're gonna do. Here it is. Here's that Bloomberg article. Global supply chains are breaking, borders rising within nation states. Stock exchanges are convulsing with fear, and recession looms over the global economy. The coronavirus has disrupted world order, and they say, get ready, a bigger disruption is coming. The COVID-19 pandemic reflects a systemic crisis akin to the seminal crashes of the 20th century. So I'm running out of free articles, but fortunately I saved my view for now. It's first in a 2-part series. It's unlikely we're going to get the second part. But as they were saying, globalization used to seem like a fact of nature. It's over now. The world's changed so dramatically. There may be a revolution in art, science, philosophy, economics, just as in the 20th century. It's getting really, it's a word of the day, I guess, but it's getting really surreal. It does seem like we're going back to the 20s, right? We had the stock market crash of 1929. It came a little early. We have general unrest. We have random wars in Syria and other small countries threatening to set other countries into larger fights. It seems very much back to the 20s. It doesn't seem like Thomas Friedman's golden arches theory, according to which no 2 countries with McDonald's restaurants would go to war. It doesn't seem like that's going to last. Yes, we're definitely having a new crisis here. But yeah, check out this Bloomberg article. I don't have time to read it all on the air. Here's a little bit of Governor of Nevada, Democrat Steve Sisolak. He's not messing around.
I don't know if I can make this any clearer, that people are looking for a loophole here. This is affecting the lives of our citizens. People are dying. You know, every day that is delayed here, I'm losing a dozen people on the back end are going to die as a result of this. Kevin Durant, one of the most fit people in the world, tested positive today. It's incumbent upon the citizens of this state to take this seriously. Next question.
Bam. Great from Sisolak. Also scary. My brother brought up the point. Sisolak seems really scared. He must have access to numbers that are worse than the numbers we're seeing. Or he's just acting on this. He's just seen Governor Cuomo. He's seen the Gavin Newsom. Well, he's not. London Breed, the mayor of San Francisco, shutting down San Francisco. The other guy in New York City has been shutting things down. De Blasio has been starting to shut things down. And no, he's not looking for any loopholes, any we have a small business, we need to stay open. He's saying close it. Now, I can report on the other side of this. I don't have the tweet handy, but over on the @LasVegasLocally account, they said that they'd heard rumblings of people saying they were going to keep their businesses open. So there may be some civil disobedience, which again would injure the quarantine. Nobody likes to be forced to close their business. It obviously touches a lot of hot points here, libertarian issues, issues of force and government and so forth. But we're not fighting a human enemy. We're fighting a virus. A virus doesn't care about your ideologies. It doesn't care if you think it's a slippery slope. We're going to have to try out the slope. Do I think we should be there, ready to fight our way back up the slope? Yes. But if it's what it takes to kill the virus, we're going to try out the slope. Oh, of course, Jared Kushner told Trump that the coronavirus was fake news. All of Trump's early response to the coronavirus, his horrible speeches, and his general disregard for the truth, apparently, allegedly, according to Vanity Fair, came from Mr. Jared Kushner. Thanks so much, Jared Kushner. Stay home for Nevada, says a slightly pissed off Governor Sisolak. Changing the story slightly, they had a look back on the life and legacy of Billy Martin on the MLB network. Check it out. Billy Martin, famous Yankees manager, known for getting into fights and spitting at umpires and throwing dirt and everything else. Just a fantastic character, Billy Martin. So check that out. Maybe you need something distracting. I'm still watching The New Girl. I don't like it very much, but Zoe Deschanel is still great. The show has some comedic moments here and there, and in general, it's a perfect distraction, much like the TV show Friends has all those symbols of 9/11 in the background, but 9/11 never happens. On New Girl, nobody knows anything about the virus. Nobody ever talks about it, and it's never going to come up. I can watch all the episodes I want. There'll never be any viruses or any 9/11s on New Girl. So, or 9/11s on Friends, but Nevada's governor orders a month-long closure of casinos and non-essential businesses, shuttering the state's main industry. Now, right now, they're looking at a 30-day closure. We all know this isn't going to be enough. They're talking in California about closing school districts until the end of the school year, until the end of the year. So it's only March. That would be 8 months. So get ready. Get ready. Shout out to Sisliak. This was his announcement on Twitter. Today, I took the necessary steps to date to mitigate this pandemic and keep our community safe. Medical experts have advised that the most effective course of action is to direct all Nevadians to stay home and for all non-essential businesses to close to the public for 30 days. So major. Yeah, they're saying that. They said in the chat, escorts too. People were also saying with Vegas, they're saying, what about the brothels? Aren't those essential? The line seems to be, right now, unofficially, obviously grocery stores are open, pharmacies are open, dispensaries seem to be open because they're medical. Liquor stores are closed. So there you go. But they probably have liquor at the grocery store, really. Great dismal. That's William Gibson. His latest book, Agency, that I've been talking about, takes place in an alternate timeline 2017. In this passage, people in the future ruminate on our present day. Gibson finished writing in July of 2019, and the book was published in January 2020. Rihanna says that she thinks about this quote every day. And in the Gibson book, there's a thing called the jackpot. It's more like not one event. It's more like a 100-year or 200-year series of events that led to the world being permanently broken. Just everything is cracked and crumbled because of the jackpot. And it's not just one event, but as it says here, the drivers for the jackpot are still in place, but with less torque at that particular point. He took a seat at the table. They're still a bit in advance of the pandemics, at least. And again, it didn't take much for Gibson to predict that there would be pandemics. Bill Gates brilliantly predicted the coronavirus, giving a TED Talk about it, having a special seminar and interactive game for politicians to try to make sure they took it seriously. Obama became obsessed with pandemics towards the end of his term and had a major workshop that they passed on to the Trump people. Unfortunately, most of the Trump people who took the workshop are no longer in the administration. The knowledge was not passed on. The knowledge did not become a part of the administration, and they seem to not be interested in pandemics. But just let's think about this for a little while. Science fiction, William Gibson, creator of the word cypherpunk, author of early books about the internet before we had the internet, says, they're still a bit in advance of the pandemics, at least. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. And thieves have swindled $2 million from coronavirus preppers with hand sanitizer and other fake medicines. They're accepting cryptocurrency. So once again, Bitcoin, other cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, they're one way. They're direct. If you send your money to the scammer and you're expecting to get a box full of hand sanitizer or a box full of magical beans that will instantly cure the virus, you just sent your money away. It's gone. Pomp says the Fed is now going to do $500 billion overnight repo operations every day. That's $1 trillion in a day. Jesus. David Wallace Wells, all we have sailing through these choppy, uncharted waters is each other. We can never get through it by dividing and attacking one another. We're in it together. The coronavirus is spinning into a tragedy. It will be a bigger tragedy if we learn nothing from it. Checking out Andreas Antonopoulos. He writes, first, zero interest, then QE to infinity, then negative rates and currency controls, then cash limits and helicopter money, then e-coin and cash ban. None of it will work. Little Mr. Robot reference there. E-coin. We do seem to be in Mr. Robot, although we weren't hacked. We were virused. Shout out to Sci-Fi Flyer in the chat. He says the Dow is down 7.5%. That means we went through at least one circuit breaker. And BTC is down 1.3%. Looks like 2.3 as of now as we continue going down. Shout out to Jamie Kennedy, the comedian. I saw him once in Las Vegas. It was cool. He says, we fucked up on Andrew Yang. Young, forward-thinking, and logical. Sorry, bro. And it is too bad. If timing had been a little different, Andrew Yang's ideas may have come to the front in the presidential primary right at this time. They could have merged together, maybe lifted him to the top, because these are the ideas that we need. We need practical, pragmatic solutions that will help people. And sending people checks so they can pay their bills will help people. Here's part of what I was talking about today, a little of this New Statesman column. Definitely got me thinking this way. How the coronavirus crisis shows that we need an entirely new economic system. And he says in the subtitle, and this is pretty much what I was riffing on today, he says, it will be impossible for capitalism to return to normal. We need an economy that has people's well-being and public health as its priority. And that's a major shift. Right now, I mean, our priority in the U.S. is probably making money. That's our priority. Is less war, more money. Maybe more war, more money. I don't know. Sometimes it changes. But if we had priorities of protecting people, if we had priorities of public health, what would the world look like? Think about it, because either we're going to go towards that world where it's still open and free, but it's a lot cleaner, or the totalitarian nightmare world where we can never turn these controls off because we can never picture a world where we can be safe. It's about feeling safe. People feel safe in the current world. They did. In the current world, they don't. We need them to feel safe again in the future. We'll see if we can do it. There's a science article that I didn't read, but I linked to you guys. It says, a conclusion of a paper from 2007. The presence of a large reservoir of SARS-CoV-like viruses in horseshoe bats, together with a culture of eating exotic mammals in southern China, is a time bomb. So I don't think we should eat bats anymore. Even if it's a conspiracy theory or whatever, I just think as a people, let's leave that one alone. Scientist says there's viruses in bats. Let's not eat them. Of course, I'm reminded of Anchorman 2, where Champ Kind is running it's like a fast food place. It's supposed to be chicken, but he's selling bats. He's like, don't you know bats are chicken of the cave? Everyone calls them that, chicken of the cave. No one calls them that. But yeah, it was a great movie, Anchorman 2. Check it out while you're quarantined. Anchorman 1 and 2. Great stuff. And here it is, and this is kind of what I've been talking about as well. Because the coronavirus is such a rapid and severe threat, so outside of our ordinary experience, it is triggering extreme versions of our everyday moral instincts. So I don't know if that's good or bad. Are we acting better? Acting more moral? Less moral? Let's see. Also, somewhere around here I had something to read. It's gone now. But it was about pragmatism, not idealism. Where's that? I don't know. But basically, it said that the pragmatist is willing to set aside any of the idealist's complaints for something that works, regardless of if the thing is moral. So it got pretty wishy-washy in there, as it's saying here that we may lose our morals. As it says here, the failure of the government's response to the coronavirus crisis can be traced directly to some of the toxic fantasies now dear to the Republican Party. Here are a few. Government is bad. Establishment experts are overrated or just plain wrong. Science is suspect. I agree. We need to get rid of those ideas. Those are bad ideas, not good for our society. Oh, back to cryptocurrency for just a minute. Remember crypto. Jameson Lopp writes, apparently, Ethereum transactions were not being executed due to network congestion. Thus, liquidation auctions for MakerDAO weren't being executed. Thus, someone was able to step in as the only bidder to buy $8 million for zero. So there you go. That's why you shouldn't use Ethereum. If the network's congested, no one can bid in the auction except one hacker, and the hacker got in there and bought $8,000 worth of your stuff for zero. Good job. Way to run a test with $8 million of someone else's money. Oh, yeah, the Big Brother German coronavirus live TV special. Hopefully my fans in Germany can watch that tonight, report back, see what you think. I had an interesting morning with the Twitter iOS app. It appeared to be broken, but later on, I think that this is a new feature, and they just didn't tell anyone about it. So it threads tweets randomly. If you scroll up too much on your tweet, it used to just go to the top. Now there's a level above the top where it will thread your tweets. But if you go back down, it won't thread your tweets. But the button tweet all is the same in both of these. It should say thread tweet, and the other one it should say new tweet or something. It should have some kind of differentiation. Also, it should some kind of graphics that show you that you can go up or that you can go down. It doesn't have any of that. It's just confusing, hard to use. So, Twitter, fix your stuff. As I said about the new girl, I really, they will, they or won't they? They're definitely starting to get together. And I don't like Nick anymore. Nick has become a bad character. He's a failed law student. He's a wannabe writer. He doesn't really seem like he wants to write at all in the TV show. And he was playing incredibly cruel pranks on his friend and roommate Schmidt. So this is my soap opera that I'm watching now. You guys should all pick one. It doesn't matter what it is. It can be higher brow than this. I thought lower brow would be a good place to go. But you should pick a soap opera, and you should start watching a couple episodes a day just to distract yourself. You don't have to watch the news all the time. You don't have to watch. There are no more sports. So pick an old show, start binge watching it, post about it, enjoy it, find somebody to talk about with it. It's good stuff. Shout out to Brewdog. This is a brewery in Scotland and England. I got to go to one of their places in London, and they are now making hand sanitizer. They call it Punk Sanitizer. They got a cool logo and everything, and they're probably giving them out or selling them or something. I don't know, but this is an example of things we could be doing in this country. I've not seen any Budweiser hand sanitizers yet. Maybe someone should tell them that this little itty-bitty company in Scotland figured out they could use their alcohol systems to also make hand sanitizer, something we could really need. Something we could really use. And we talked about Kramer, talking about restaurants, needing to make the payroll. He was actually asking this Yum guy a serious question. He was like, how much do we need? And Yum, you guys might not know, but Yum Brands is a big company. They own Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, and KFC. When you see all those combined restaurants, they're all owned by one company. They used to be part of PepsiCo. They kind of own a bunch of snack foods and stuff. And Kramer said, very seriously, Kramer said, how much money do you need to make your payroll? And sadly, the Yum guy responded by saying, all our businesses are franchisees. Our main company is fine. As an executive, I'm fine. It's the franchisees that are screwed. You need to go help them. And I don't even know the number. I don't even care. So that was disappointing. Kramer seems to be doing kind of the same thing I do, where he tries to solve the problem talking it out. And he has the good fortune of sometimes the president or his representatives are watching him. And even today he was saying, you know, oh, maybe they're watching this. And he gives them the idea and sees if they'll take it. So he was actually trying to help there. He was trying to get down to brass tacks. How much do we have to pay to keep these restaurants running? And that's what caused me to tweet, I'm not interested in what you believe in. I'm interested in what works. And then I'm passing off the old Fitter Happier quote from Radiohead. Pragmatism, not idealism. But it's still a really good quote, even if it's from Radiohead. 3 hours ago, the markets opened 6% down, but no circuit breaker yet. Kramer said, I'm not advocating capitalism, but I want to win. And when we come back, we'll be stronger than ever with a healthy workforce. So Kramer's getting really political, really rah-rah on the mornings. They're waking him up early, and they're still making him do his nighttime show. So he's pulling double duty. Kramer says, when they hear hiatus, they think end of days. We've got to get that off the table. That's scary even to me. But we might have to take a hiatus. We might have to close down the markets. I mean, that's what I've been saying here with the food. Like, there might not be any more Cheez-Its ever. I mean, I don't know. Somebody's got to run the machinery. Someone's got to make the actual ingredients. Someone has to raise some kind of cheese or some kind of chemical to run those machines. If we don't have farmers, if we don't have truckers, if we don't have the infrastructure that brings us food, what are we going to eat? So we got to think about that. Kramer says, I don't understand why the president doesn't just pick up the phone, call the Saudis and say, this is a two-way street. If you want our protection, don't destroy our industries. And I agree with him. I'm not sure why no one is talking about Saudi Arabia pushing the price of oil down to $20. It was $30 about a week ago. Now it's $24, last that I saw. They're pushing it down to $20 because they want to run the Russians and the American shale oil companies out of business. So this is horrible. And it's happening during the coronavirus crisis. So it's really not a good time for this. As they said on the San Francisco police Twitter account, criminals, please stay home. Please stop all nefarious activities. Which, again, a lot of people laughed at. But a lot of people are like, you know, if you're going to rob a bank, just wait till later. I mean, if you're going to do these things, you have to wait till later. It's not a good time. It's just not a good time. So stop all nefarious activities. I don't know. It could help. Criminals with morals. Miller's Crossing, baby. Miller's Crossing. As Kramer says, normally I'd drill down on that stock, but right now I'm focused on 130 million people and what they're going to eat next week. Kramer for president. And Kramer also said, according to Nick, he said, please don't confiscate our gold. Ooh, Kramer's a gold bug. Shout out to Ramp Capital, who's become bear market capital. Talking about Penn Gaming Company is at $6. A month ago, it was at $39. And he updated it later saying that Penn Gaming Company had gone down to $5. $5. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So, let's see. Kramer says, you could stick with the 4% yield and buy Coca-Cola, or you can go with Stephen King and the Grim Reaper. I'm not there yet. I'm buying Coke. So, there you go. Kramer keeping things going on the CNBC stock market. Shout out to the chat. Mr. B says he's one of the owners of BrewDog. Very cool. I think I've seen him on TV a bunch of times. They brewed beer on a boat, and they brew beer in odd locations. My brother's a big fan of beer brewing, so we definitely checked them out in London. Had a couple of pints and a flight or whatever down at the old London shop there, and it was very nice brewery. So And they seem like nice guys on TV too. And it's interesting when they go to random places to brew beer and the troubles that they have, like the temperature or the water or things like that. So it's a cool show. And they were also saying, yeah, owner of Brewdog. I'm going to drink some more water. Thank you. And they had an earthquake in Utah. So end of the world 2020. AR says he didn't feel it. He wonders where it is. Maybe honey education has mead. Well, if you're into honey and education, hopefully you have mead at home. So you can at least drink mead. Maybe you can even make mead. So, but yeah, earthquake in 2020. I don't want to be negative about it, but it's been hard to say there's been a lot of positive things in the news since poor old Kobe went down. 2020, Kobe's like, peace out. Coronavirus is like, we're going to get you all. You kind of wonder, is Kobe the lucky one? I don't think so, but you have to kind of wonder that. We Smoke Bitcoin says that the USA is building more oil storage and buying up that cheap-ass Saudi oil. That's good, but we're going to lose our native shale oil production, which actually made us energy independent for the first time. If I was president, I think I'd step in. I would backstop those industries and say that Saudis could lower the money as much as they want, but we would pay the difference to our shale oil people to keep them in business. Then we'd have a competition of how long we could do this. And there'd be other economic and political pressures brought to bear on them as well. I'm not sure why we never raised anything against Saudi Arabia, but then I do have my own theory why. So they have all the money. so it goes. We Smoke Bitcoin says, when the price is down, that's when you fill your bags, right? So it could be a good idea for the U.S. to buy more oil to fill up the so-called strategic oil reserve. It always seems to be strategically empty when we need it, but I like the idea. General Byzantine says they might come and confiscate your masks. We need a socialized mask system. And they say, Trudeau isn't a cosplayer. He's a mask hoarder. He's very smart. And I did see that I believe Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, his wife, may have the coronavirus or may just be in quarantine. As I recall, I think his wife is a little older than him. She was his drama teacher in high school, and they had a little bit of a romance, and then he like graduated college and came back, and they got married, something like that. I don't have the exact story. But Justin Trudeau, what a character. What a character. So interesting stuff. But We Smoke says it's over, that prices will go up, that Saudi is broke now too. I don't know. They went balls to the wall on this $20 thing. And whenever you make a move like that, it always seems like you have the strength to back it up. For anyone that's not interested in oil, basically the Saudis have the ability to increase production. Increasing production reduces the price. Reducing the price cost across a certain level bankrupts their enemies, the American shale oil producers, as well as the Russian oil producers. So if they could keep it running at a low enough level, all their enemies would go out of business, allowing them to raise the price as much as they want because there'd be less competition and less ability of anyone else to affect the supply. When you control 100% of the supply like that, or not 100%, but whatever the ridiculous number percent that the Saudis and OPEC control of oil, you can make choices like that. You can attempt to influence supply and demand and the price, not with the quality of the product or your marketing, but with manipulation. So there's lots of fun stuff out there. I'm not sure why I think that was a pretty reasonable explanation, pretty straightforward. Even if you've never been interested in international oil politics before, I don't know why they're not explaining that to people on MSNBC and other networks. I've only seen it on CNBC, and even then, they don't really lay it out that clearly. We could get some charts and some graphs, and we could really explain to you how, if the price is this, they can go this, and if the price is that, they can go that, and how much will they lose, and how much will they make, and they could do all the numbers. We could do a whole report on this, but we don't. Rough day for Ivanka Trump, daughter of the president. For reasons I can't explain, she released a tweet saying, staying home today with kids, Plan a living room campout. Throw a bed sheet over some taped-together brooms. Plan a menu and pack sandwiches and salads. S'mores are optional. It's a fun activity that also brings the family together for a meal. Share your ideas and use the hashtag #TogetherApart. Aww. And I'm sure she's trying to do a nice thing, and maybe this is just her social networking person misreading the environment out there. But yeah, there was a pretty good response here by Racist Texas, who writes, thousands of parents are locked in detention centers tonight with their children. They are squashed in besides others. Some are pregnant. There are no s'mores. There's a report that the virus is in one center. There's not enough soap. Parents are literally scared to death. So it's not a good time for camping at home and rich people's houses. Nice pillows and stuff they're standing on here. Nice carpet, you know. It's not a cement floor. It's not one of those metal blankets. It's not a good look. It's not even a political thing. It's not a good tweet. Alec McGinnis writes, how one small town at the center of the outbreak has cut infections virtually to zero. They test all 3,300 people in town, isolate the 3% who tested positive. The infection rate 10 days later was down to 0.3%. So this is counter to what the U.S. is doing, sadly. Sadly, the United States delayed testing, allegedly, so that a private company could develop a private test that they could make money on, giving us into the position now where we don't have enough tests. They say we do, but everyone knows we don't. As they were saying in the chat, it seems like only celebrities, NBA players, and so on and so forth are getting tested. That does seem to be the case, which is terrifying, but might be a good way to spread the word about the virus. If you hear that Tom Hanks has it, maybe that makes it real to you. I heard from Governor Sisolak that Durant has it, a basketball player, and that also 4 players on the New York Nets had it, and that it's definitely spreading. So if we had enough tests, we could test everyone, isolate those with the disease, and win. Private companies, other people are racing to fill this void. I don't have the chart right here, but there was a report out of Washington State that they had bypassed South Korea and that Washington State was now giving more tests than anyone else. The Quest company is headquartered up there. They might have helped out. I know in California they're trying to get private help as well, and everyone is all hands on deck to get these tests going, because yes, if we can test everyone, we can find those who have minor infections. What they're saying right now, a lot of people are not getting major symptoms. Great for you, bad for everyone else. If you're sick with the coronavirus and you're not getting major symptoms, that means you could be walking around spreading it. So lots of people who are sick but don't think they're sick could be detected if we had more testing, if we tested everyone. These people who have slight conditions, put them in one of these gymnasiums, make them hang out for a couple of weeks. Don't infect anyone else. It's not great. It's what we got. As it says here, the depth of economic damage in the United States is directly connected to the federal government's ongoing failure to provide testing for the coronavirus. Testing remains one of the best ways to limit the damage, and he quotes that Blue Bottle Coffee was shutting down locations in America, but would be keeping locations in Japan and South Korea open because those countries have extensive testing and medical support clearly in place. Much like I was talking about earlier, in our new economy, in the new future, if you were Starbucks and you know that a pandemic virus can wipe out your profits, you need to take better care of people. You need extensive testing and medical support clearly in place for the next time. Imagine if the next time this article reads the other way, and it says, Japan and South Korea don't have enough testing. We're closing our stores there. But we're keeping our stores open in America because they have lots of testing and lots of preventative care since they switched to Medicare for all and universal health care, realizing that health care, the right to health, the ability to be healthy enough to work, is a human right. a universal human right that improves our society, keeps us healthy, and makes us more money. Testing, preparation, Medicare for all. We have options. We have solutions that man has made that we don't have, that we could have for next time. Don't let this be one of these things where we forget about it because we didn't talk about what we were going to do for next time. And we just say, oh, just kick it down the road and there'll never be another pandemic and there'll never be another this and there'll never be another problem with the voting machines, and just kick it down the road and don't do anything. No, it's not right. Let's not do it this time. Not this time. Shout out to you, the viewer at home, the person who gives us the thumbs up and the share. You're helping us spread the word about these videos, and we're getting more views. I don't know if you guys know, but we haven't gotten very good views in a long time. We make a lot of shows, but they don't do very well. So part of this is because people aren't searching for the word Bitcoin. People have started searching for the word Bitcoin recently, although it's because the price is down. That's still good for us because we make Bitcoin videos on the World Crypto Network. Also, everyone's been giving us thumbs up and a share. This particular breakout, the 6,000 view video down there, was the live video that we all did together in the evening when the price of Bitcoin was crashing. And we had a bunch of phone calls and we had a good time hanging out. And that might be why I moved this show to the evening. So we might try more of an evening show here. I do have a vote, but this vote is incredibly biased because only the people awake in this time zone right now have voted. So, but yeah, we're attempting to find the best time of day for these shows. Maybe it's a combination of all three. Maybe it's, I don't know what it is, but 9 o'clock in the morning, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 5 o'clock in the evening. These are all Pacific time, so you have to translate back to your own time zone. Let me know what you think. Vote in the poll on Mad Bitcoin's Twitter account at Mad Bitcoins. Tell us what you think the best time of day is. Do you want to call in right now? Is it a good time to listen right now but not to chat? Is it a better time to chat later or even later? So, but let's see what they say in the chat. Trudeau is a mask hoarder. Are they going to cancel that show, The Masked Singer? Or is that just another like... Actually, I have that. Kind of. But yeah, The Masked Singer. It's a conspiracy. Fox Entertainment must have known that masks would become a big deal. That's why they started the TV show, The Masked Singer. They knew about it all along. Oh. No. Correlation does not imply causation. I think that's what we're looking for. They say prepare for camping out in Central Park like they did in 1929. So there are places to camp for Ivanka's little thing there. Maybe you could camp out on the porch of her apartment in New York City. You could camp out right on the street there. I'm sure if you look at that thread on Twitter, there's probably 100 other people with 100 other jokes of their campgrounds and their stuff and their poor tents on the street. Gosh, it's Marie Antoinette. It's a Marie Antoinette thing to do. For you guys that don't know, Marie Antoinette, of course, famously in the French Revolution, the wife of the king, she said, let them eat cake. And that's all that's really remembered. But in reality, she had been told that they were out of bread. And so she said, let them eat cake. So here we got a caller. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello, I am Paul. I'm calling you from Moscow. We talked already a couple of days ago.
How's it going, Paul? What do you think so far? How are you holding up in Moscow?
Well, it's been a first kind of panicky day today. Not for me. I'm ready. I'm prepared. But I've been to the shop, to the supermarket, and I've seen people grabbing everything. I've seen the shelves where I needed to pick a few things just for daily stuff, not for preparation. They were empty, and that kind of I just felt an unsettling vibe today in the shops, and I also went to the pharmacy, and I saw some people that were clearly panicking, not en masse yet, but the scenery of empty shelves is definitely not comfortable.
Yeah, I don't really want to see it myself. I haven't been out in a while, and intentionally not going out until I run out of food. Basically, we're starting to get into
Oh, so
the.
how long have you been in?
I mean, it's only been. I mean, I've been freaking out about this for I don't know, a week, 10 days, maybe 2 weeks. But this has all been just
Okay.
a personal choice at this by me and my brother. And we do a couple of outs, like we went to the grocery store to get more food, and then we went to the grocery store again to get more food, that kind of thing. But in general, no, I want to stay home. I don't want to go outside. But it is scary because
Yeah, I've heard
the
that in the,
food. Sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
I've heard that in the United States, the shelves were empty a few days ago already, but it's only starting here right now. I guess it's a bit of a delay, and it seems like the government is not quarantining people en masse yet. Although today I've been to my university. I'm not going to the university, but I just had to bring some stuff in, and I was wearing a respirator. But the university is actually closed right now. The students are studying only. Uh, it's like a long distance studying, like what do you call it? Remote
Yep,
studying,
yep. Remote
and
learning. Yep.
yeah, remote learning. Uh, so some things are happening, but there are no travel restrictions yet in terms of within the country, and you can also go outside the country, of course. But there are some other things that are unsettling because, for example, my mom right now is in India, and she's stuck in Goa because there is no flights out.
That's definitely the way. That's what it's looking like. I know another friend of ours is stuck in Peru, and yeah, you just can't get back. And I don't know what we're gonna do about all that. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
her flight after tomorrow.
does she have a place to stay? Is the airline doing anything, or
Yeah,
is it?
she has a place to stay, and the person who she's renting from agrees to rent it week by week right now because she doesn't know when she's going to leave. But it's possible that she is going to have to leave on like a military evacuation aircraft, which is
Wow.
definitely uncomfortable.
Yeah, yeah, they had that with the cruise ship people, where the United States government went to go get them, and yeah, they brought them back on one of those C-40s or 140s, one of the big ships, big airplanes, with just the seats in the big deck where they could put tanks or buses or anything. And
Yeah,
the conditions weren't even very sanitary. They say they're worried about the plastic sheeting was put around the sick people, and no one was given gloves or masks, and it's creepy.
yeah. In Russia, you also sit on the floor. No, you don't have any seats.
Oh, that's scary, scary stuff. But yeah, I
Yeah,
hope.
but the thing that is most concerning to me right now is that I can. It's possible that soon I won't be able to go to the gym, but I really don't really want to go to the gym anymore. I go at hours when there's nobody there, but it's still could be contagious. And the last time I've been there was a couple of days ago, and I skipped one day of training. But yeah, it seems like uh, I'm a semi-professional athlete, so for me it is kind of important. I think this is going to be a big obstacle for athletes. This is definitely something that maybe not a lot of people have thought about.
I think so. I think it's time to train at home as best you can, and you don't have the right equipment. No one has a perfect home gym. But yeah, we're all going to have to be flexible with that. Because yeah, the same kind of thing. I'm not certainly not an athlete, but I wanted to go to the gym and try to stay healthy. And normally, it's just me fighting with the couch. I could sit on the couch and play video games, or I could go to the gym. Now it's like sit on the couch, play video games, go to the gym, get sick and die. I mean, the
And
video games are
now,
selling themselves, man. I mean,
anyway, it's been great talking to you, man. Nice show.
well, thanks so much for giving me a call, and just give us a call later. There's a question in the chat. They say, is Russia denying a problem? Do they not have tests? Is there any
Yes,
official response or?
I think so. They are denying a problem. See, there is a massive constitutional crisis going on right now in Russia.
Mm,
The president is trying to basically stay forever. He is changing the constitution, and the parliament has already enacted the changes. So the only last step to basically make him like a czar is is for the constitutional court. which is controlled by the government, of course, to approve this change. And I think actually they approved it today. So basically, the last step right now is the referendum, which should take place in April. And until the referendum takes place, I don't think they are going to acknowledge this problem, precisely for the reason that they need people to vote.
Wow, that's scary, because that's a definite political reason to act the way they're acting. So I can't see them
Yes.
changing their mind on that. Yeah.
Yes, there are actually very big numbers. There are thousands of people in most cities, most decent-sized cities. There are hundreds and even thousands of people who have severe respiratory syndrome. So they have pneumonia and they are requiring medical attention. But and clearly those are coronavirus cases, but they are not reported as coronavirus cases. They are just reported as what is it called in English? Some sort of other respiratory virus or bacteria.
Well, that's a terrifying condition to be in. I know we played a video yesterday from the Italian people and what they'd wish they'd known 10 days ago. And I know 10 days from now in America, we're going to be wishing pretty much the same things they were saying about staying home and trying not to spread this thing. But it would be a totally different situation to be where you are, where you probably can't even talk about it. The media is not talking about it, and no one's going to talk about it if it's against the interest of the government. So scary times. Definitely stay home. Try to not get sick, you know?
Yeah, that's the safe bet. Thankfully, I have some respirators to filter the air, and I bought some alcohol and bleach. Actually, I don't have bleach right now, but I'm getting it soon. So, yeah, hopefully we can push through this. I think it's actually very hard to stay clean of this, because if you think about it, if it stays in the air for I think it's up to 3 days or something, I read something ridiculous like that. It's airborne pretty much. It's not like it's in the droplets. So if you think about that, like this stuff could float everywhere, and it could float to your house from like a mile away, basically.
They're still back and forth on the airborne nature. I think that the airborne, if somebody coughs or sneezes, they're saying like if you were in the same hallway and they coughed and you walked by them, that I think you could get it. I don't think that it lives a really long time in the air. I think it just could be transmitted that way. They also said something like it only lives a few hours on copper, 24 hours on cardboard, and 2 to 3 days on metal or plastic. So that's pretty scary, that it could be on substances for that long.
Yeah, and as far as how long it stays in the air, there was a research published from China that said that it is actually airborne, and I'm not quite remembering the numbers, but it's definitely several hours that the virus can stay in the air. So if someone sneezed in a hallway, you could be infected several hours down the line when that person is not even there anymore.
See, now that's terrifying.
Yeah, so definitely face masks for proper half face or full face respirators with some P3 filters.
All right, well, we'll hope for the best. I think everything's sold out here, but hopefully they'll make more, and we'll all get through this. But stay safe, and thanks so much for the call. Give us a call anytime.
Thank you. Goodbye.
All right. And you can give us a call now on Skype at World Crypto Network, all one word, or on the telephone at 1-518-600-1949. I'll try to keep the show going if we have a few more callers. It's easier. I'm kind of running out of news stories, but we're checking out the chat. They say 43 watching, 23 likes. You know what to do. And everybody should like this video. That really helps more people find the show. I even think YouTube runs a ratio on you. So right now we have about half likes, which is awesome. We have about 50% likes. But I imagine if we had a ratio of like 75% likes or 90% likes, that YouTube would be really excited and would be promoting our videos more. So that would get us more callers and more likes and more views and all those things. So that'd be good. They say that you should shower in vodka hourly. I don't think he has enough vodka unless he's better stocked than I am. Good question by General Byzantine. That was great to ask Russia while we had him on the line. Very cool to have this kind of worldwide presence of people talking to each other. Tack for Alt says it is airborne. And I'm in agreement, and I think we pretty much narrowed it down, maybe 2 to 3 hours airborne in the hallway if someone sneezes or coughs. So absolutely terrifying. As Martin says, he just shit his pants. I'm there with him. A lot of these things are just completely terrifying. It's like looking at sea creatures. They look like aliens. And certainly viruses, diseases, these are all aliens. Science, nature, health, these are so complicated. But yeah, it's crazy. So they say Byzantine says he doesn't want to start rumors, but does anyone think that maybe Trump delayed the masks or tests until his personal investments are ready? I can't think that. I do think unfortunately, and it's going to come out later, we're going to have hearings and everything on this, but I do think they bungled the response and attempted to get a copyright version of the test that they could use. I do think that they were trying to get a royalty, a little profit on the test, and that's delayed our ability to have a bunch of tests, and they didn't open it to everybody. So I think that's going to come out later, but I don't know about this investments in personal masks and stuff. But I do think, and I hope, and I remember the stories that they taught me about World War II, that we converted the factories over. So I don't know what's happened with 3M or whoever makes these masks, why they're not just delivering them to Americans everywhere and to the world beyond that. Like once we're supplied up, let's supply the world, because if we don't beat this virus worldwide, we're not going to win. Like this whole ethnocentrism, America first nonsense that we brought back with us from the 1920s, and it's here again. It's never going to fly. I mean, not that we're going towards an international globalist world, but I do think that there's a general interconnectedness that people are starting to realize. They're like, oh yeah, I'm the CEO of this fancy company, but if the guy who works at Subway gets sick and he infects 50 people, I'm not going to be able to work at my fancy company anymore. I have to stay home, my fancy apartment. So shout out to Chewy. He just joined. Welcome to the chat. And they say 30 minutes has been shown for airborne transmission. In lab tests, even longer. They found viable virus in ductwork. So I agree with that. I also think that one of the things they did in the test is they made the virus into an aerosol. So I'm not sure it's something the virus would be capable of doing on its own. But I think they had even more success when they intentionally converted it to an aerosol and then spread it. So it is airborne. Terrifying. And General says looks thrilled to be able to call it a war in any case. He can win a war without having to do any of the work himself. Well, I don't want to get in trouble and start analyzing the president, who I'm not a fan of. But I agree with a lot of the articles that are coming out there saying this is a big problem for an authoritarian leader. There's not really a them for us to rebel against. We can do the best we can, and certainly I'm patriotic as everyone else. I'm pro-human. I'm anti-virus, and I'm on that. But yeah, he just delights in it. I love the whole thing now where he's starting to say that he thought it was a pandemic from the beginning. All the times when he says it was a hoax and it was fake news and the Democrats created it, he says it was a pandemic from the beginning. It reminded me of when he visited the scientists, Johns Hopkins or Walter Reed or something, and he said, I have a really great grasp on this. I could have been a scientist. Maybe I should have been a scientist. I'm just natural at this. It's not a thing you're a natural at. You become one of these scientist guys by reading all these books, by memorizing all this stuff, by gaining all this information. It's like decades of book work so that they can make it look like they're naturals, make it look like they just, thought of this thing. But no, it's decades of complex work. And he just shows up and he's like, oh, I'm a natural now. I should be a doctor. If it wasn't real, it would be funny. It would be the funniest TV show ever. Oh, we would crack up. There was a great show. It was before 9/11 and it disappeared after 9/11 because it was called That's My Bush. And it was the South Park guys, and they'd written a sitcom about W. Bush, and he was an idiot. And it was a classic sitcom. They do the trapped in small locations episode. They do the neighbor comes over, all the kind of things. And it was just a great satire of Bush. And it wasn't really mean. I mean, it showed him as stupid most of the time, but it wasn't mean, kind of thing. And it just disappeared after 9/11. No one talked about that again. But yeah, if this Trump show, this, like, can you imagine, like, in some alternate reality, you're watching this as like in the movie Long Shot, which I love the movie Long Shot, the Seth Rogen, Charlize Theron romantic comedy. Check that out. It's political a little bit too, but it's fun. And in the movie, the guy from Better Call Saul, Odenkirk, he's the president of the United States, but he also played the president of the United States in a TV show that kind of looks like West Wing. And it's just this great thing where he keeps watching himself on TV while he's the president. And I know they're poking fun at Trump. They're kind of mirroring it. But could you imagine just watching on TV a farce of a TV show where you have this kind of ridiculous older guy, used to be in real estate, kind of bumbles around, thinks he's in charge of everything, and just says idiot things like there's no virus and it's the Democrats' fault. And then he turns around one day and he's like, I'm a genius and I knew there was a pandemic and I knew this would be a problem. In any other situation, it would be funny. But yeah, it's bad. It looks like Martin's going to start taping up his windows. Attack for Alt says there's a continuum of airborne, as it were. It's more airborne than the common flu, but less airborne than the measles. So it's not the worst that it could be airborne-wise. Martin's going to tape the windows. The general agrees. He says it's not his president. But being united is the only way out of this nightmare. Spread the info, not the rumor, not the virus. Yeah, spell check. But yes, we need to do that. We need to stick together. Being united, staying at home is the only way we're going to beat this. And beating this might not look that great. Like, we might get to the end of this and be like, oh yeah, we really beat it. We really won, but if we don't beat it, if we don't flatten the curve, we're going to really know what defeat and what failure looks like. And this isn't left, this isn't right, this isn't man or woman or whatever. This is human. We're rooting for humanity here. We're playing for the survival of the whole species, the whole civilization, which, again, we can go back to not being civilized. But we're going to see incredible, incredible losses because the system is not capable of supporting people unless we get back to work, unless we get back to the farms, unless we continue the system. People will starve. People will die. The system, we can't just go back to the trees. We've made too many people. We've made too many cities. So they say, AR says, maybe we're the entertainment channel for the galaxy. That's why Trump is pretending to lead. It's all part of the show. They had a great, and it's forever old now. They've done a zillion things on South Park, but they had one episode where they said, Earth! And Earth was an international galactic show where they'd put all these different people together and then had them fight for the entertainment of the world. So, yeah, it was a pretty great thing, the Earth. So, all right, so Towers is still thinking it's overblown. Okay, so we're going to try to help you out, man, and then we might head towards the end of the show. Also, if you wanted to call in, I'd love to talk to somebody that thinks it's overblown. Not because I want to debate or I want to be mean or anything like that, but I just want to explore it and I want to try to understand, because I think it's really bad from a virus perspective, from a science perspective. Nothing political, nothing whatever, blaming anybody, none of that. I just think that we're in a bad spot, and that, yeah, staying home seems super bad, seems totalitarian and all these things, but in the other ways, it also seems like what we could do to fight the virus. So this is a video from Italy. It's from theatlantic.com. I had it shared to me from my favorite rock band, REM. I'll even get the YouTube link. I'll throw that in the chat here. So maybe if you don't believe it or whatever, you can share it with your friends. But here it is. This is from Italy. And what they believe is that we're about 10 days behind Italy. So they asked the Italian people to record a message for themselves from 10 days ago. And these are just normal people like you and me who thought maybe it's a conspiracy, maybe it's fake, maybe I should do nothing, so on and so forth. And he says, wait a minute. I wanted to update you on Italy's latest. A huge mess is about to happen. I'm sure you've heard about the coronavirus, and I'm also pretty sure you're underestimating it. I even used to make fun of people wearing face masks. Stop making fun of mom for telling you to buy face masks. Go buy them, idiot. Until 10 days ago, I went to meetings at work. I went to dinner with friends. I went to the gym, to the hairdresser, the usual boring things that have never hurt anybody. But in 10 days, life won't be like this anymore. The worst case scenario, that's exactly what will happen. Infections in Italy will continue to increase, proving this all wasn't bullshit like you thought. 10 days ago, we had 2,000 people infected. Now we're at 18,000. We've already passed 1,000 deaths. And now you're working deadly shifts at the hospital. We're in a surreal situation. Nobody can leave their house unless they have a very serious reason. A nice quarantine, the type you see in the movies. A whole nation stuck at home. Hospitals are blowing up. Lots of infections, even young people. There are kids our age who are incubated and in intensive care. It's just a flu. Well, maybe it's not so bad. I don't know. We took it lightly. We should always be light in spirit, but not with our gestures. If you do go outside, only do so if it's indispensable. Because what you're risking is not a regular flu. I've seen worrisome videos from France and the US of people not taking this thing seriously. The issue is more serious than most of the world believes. This is not unfounded pessimism. This is what's happening is worse than you thought it was. And you'll realize that just being able to breathe the own air in your own house is something you should be grateful for. Especially now, we're talking about taping up windows. And he knows that China is far away, but the virus is faster than you think. So maybe rethink your Sunday plans and stay home. Maybe if you stayed home, we wouldn't all have to stay at home now. And you'll feel like you're going insane, and you won't see the end of the tunnel. You're not alone. You'll start seeing beauty and ugliness together. You'll live moments of unity you've never imagined. Yesterday, we all got out on our balconies, and the whole neighborhood started singing. Everyone was singing their own song, but somehow we were all one thing. So start doing your part. Don't fuck up. Stay home. Let's beat this virus. And again, I hear you in the chat. I hear the angry conspiracy theories and so on and so forth, that you're all slaves and that you should be afraid and you should wake up and that this is all a conspiracy and I'm a shill. So I like that. Let's talk more about that. If I'm wrong and there is no virus and nothing happens, and if it's not as serious as we think it is and all those things, we may cede some of our control temporarily to the government. I do not think that we'll cede it permanently. Here we go. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling
Thomas.
from? Hey.
Hey, it's Martin.
Hey,
I'm
Martin.
in the chat. How's it going?
It's going good. Welcome. How's it going?
From San Jose. We just got a shelter-in-place order yesterday, like a max, a mass text message.
Right.
So we're all indoors here, San Francisco Bay Area. But I wanted to say something to people who think that it's a joke. And I've been having trouble with my in-laws because they haven't been taking it seriously. They're 80 years old, and those are the people that are going to get hit the hardest. And I found the best way to explain the severity of the situation to someone is you say, look, if you're the government, you had an ultimatum, a choice between two outcomes. One of them is you let the virus spread through and take its toll on the population. The other is you lock everything down and you basically create an economic suicide. And in their eyes, the consequences from locking everything down and putting their own bullet in their head because of the economy is less than letting the virus roll through. So that's what I tell people. And hey, no, this is fake news. look, these people, they're the ones who are going to suffer. It'll be too late
it's
for
the
them.
same thing. A lot of people are saying these are the Trump supporters, the people with low information, the people watching the wrong channel, maybe not getting true information, actionable information. They're putting themselves behind this thing, and you're in a far weaker position. A week ago, you could have bought anything you want at Costco. You could have got a credit card. You could have maxed it out. You don't even really need to have the money today. You can worry about it later, and you have a house full of food. And things are
you can
bad.
make money later.
Yeah, absolutely. You can negotiate the credit card bill. You can go bankrupt. There might be some kind of a credit holiday or something. Like, there are options. But if you're at home now and you don't have food and you have lots of credit cards, you don't have options. You can't do anything. So
you can't eat plastic.
Absolutely. And I saw this. It seems like a long time ago, but Hong Kong, when they first had the run on their shops early in the Chinese infection, I saw an elderly couple with a cart full of Coca-Cola. Must have been 9 cases in the entire cart. And I was like, why would you ever want that much Coca-Cola? Even now, I'm wishing I had a little more. But why would you want that? And what it was that money is less valuable than goods in some situations. In some situations, it doesn't matter you have $5,000 in your bank account. What matters is you have an extra case of Coca-Cola, or even that you could trade a can of Coca-Cola with someone else who really wants one. Having goods.
100%.
Yeah. So I saw that shift, and I didn't even buy enough goods. I mean, we have a decent amount of food here, but I wish I had more. It's scary. Every little snack thing you eat is like, oh, we're going to run out of those, and I'm going to wish I had more of that snack or whatever it is. It's tightening up. And we just had our order here in Nevada. They haven't gone shelter in place, but they have basically shut down the entire state. So we're starting to get.
No, it's surreal.
Yeah, the Italy thing is
happening. It's surreal.
Yeah,
it's happening. And look, man, I saw the shit that was happening in China a couple months ago, and I said to my wife, babe, this is the real deal. We have to. And I spent basically all my savings getting prepped, and everybody around me thought I was fucking crazy and losing my shit. And I thought my wife wanted to go to San Francisco, hang out with her cousin, blah blah blah. And I said, look, you can't go. And I'm not a controlling guy. I don't, but and now oh, you were right. But it feels good to be vindicated, but at the same time, it's like, man, I wish I wasn't right. I wish I would be that fool who stocked up and looked like an idiot.
It would be great now. It would be great if it wasn't real. And I think one of the other things that people maybe have, a lot of these stories in the past you've been able to ignore. I know that I definitely ignored SARS and bird flu and H1N1 and all these different things in the past. And I went about my life, and I kept going to work, and I kept going to bars and all the normal things that people do. And I know a lot of people are into sports because it helps them ignore the realities of the world, and they're into other things that are great distractions and so on and so forth. But they shut down the sports. They shut down the casinos yesterday. I mean, there are no more shows. Yeah. There are no more casinos. I mean, I may as well not live in Las Vegas right now. I could live anywhere. I'm in Idaho or wherever. I mean, there's nothing here. Well,
that's the thing. Sorry, just it's so illogical to think that it's the virus is fake, because I mean, look at all these people that are the CEOs, the heads of the sports teams. I mean, it would have to be a conspiracy so vast to involve. It's like thinking the world's flat at this point. It just makes no sense.
And I think now I've got this guy. He's sending me this thing about how it's all like a Pizzagate thing, and that the virus is fake, and they're going to be arresting Tom Hanks and Oprah and all these other people are secretly pedophiles. And I don't even know. Look, maybe there are secret pedophile rings, but I don't think it's connected to this thing. I mean, I don't think so either. So.
It's a mess. I think a lot of people, look, they had so many theories coming out. Oh, it only affects Asians. Oh, it's in Wuhan, which is the center of 5G. It's only going to hit them hardest. There was one going around.
5G, I love that story. The 5G would weaken their immune systems and make them more susceptible. Yes. Oh,
Yes.
That's great. I mean, people believe that stuff. That work without.
No,
I don't know if it's true or not. It might be, but scientifically, that's exactly the kind of conspiracy theory that people pick up on, because you don't know anything about 5G except maybe it's bad, and then you have this
right.
virus break out at a place where they have the thing that's maybe bad. Oh yeah, that's a lot of people are gonna be
Well,
into that. Yeah.
but the thing is, even if 5G weakens your immune system, it doesn't matter. Like, it's not even. The virus doesn't give a fuck. Excuse my language. It doesn't care. It, you know what I mean? They're not, what you said, correlation is not causation. I mean, maybe it started there in Wuhan. They deployed 5G, but it's just not. Yeah.
Well,
And there was another one.
it feels like
Sorry,
there's
there's
an analogy here to Bitcoin, don't you think? Like you're trying to convince your relatives. I was trying to convince my relatives, and it was the same thing with Bitcoin. I couldn't convince them to buy Bitcoin. I can't convince them to stock up for this thing. What do you think? Is there a connection there?
Oh yeah. I gave them Bitcoin for Christmas. I tried to preach the gospel of the cryptocurrency is the future, and you know, hey, what can you do? You know.
Yeah, I don't know
Did
how
you
we
hear
can.
the other?
Sure, go ahead.
There's the other one that was going around. You'll get coronavirus if you eat pork. I don't know if you saw that one. It was
No, that's crazy.
yeah, but the things that come out, I think it's like well, first it's a normalcy bias, right? We've never experienced anything like this before, never, ever, ever. And the other thing is that
Same thing
people
with
just don't want
Bitcoin.
to.
So
Same
Bitcoin and
thing
this
with
are
Bitcoin.
both outside of the normal. I like this. Keep going.
And also as just as an ego defense mechanism, right? You go into denial, you try to rationalize things because, well, you don't want to. I mean, it's scary shit. I was freaking out a couple months ago when I saw what they were doing in China. But I came to terms with it. We're all going to have to come to terms with it. You know, we there's no choice. There's no choice.
Well,
I hate to say
it
it.
helps that you've had that time. I feel like I've had the same thing
Right.
because I've been watching it really closely since China. And again, I've been hoping for the best. That's why I wasn't out here banging the drums and telling you to go to Costco or whatever. Everyone had to make their own decisions with the information. But I do think, everyone's been a little afraid of this for a while. And the longer you've been afraid, the more you've been paying attention, the more ready you are now. So.
Right. And also hindsight is 2020. Even if it would have banged the drum, people wouldn't have listened. It doesn't. You know what I mean? They, like you said, they got to come to their own conclusions.
And they wouldn't listen
sad.
on Bitcoin either. And I really feel like,
I know.
and I don't know if anyone knows the history or they go back, but I've been making Bitcoin videos since 2013 with the basic thesis that Bitcoin is good. You should probably buy some. It's pretty good. And hopefully some people it reached them, but a lot of people it didn't. And different other things were tried. Andreas books, Andreas videos, big corporations, all these other things trying to get you to buy Bitcoin and pay attention to this thing. Before it was, $5,000 or $10,000, and it didn't work. And in the same way, if we had gone around telling people about this, it probably wouldn't have worked. The medical doctors, the immunologists, all these people, they were trying to prep for this, trying to get it, but they couldn't get the funding.
Right.
As a society, and we're talking big levels today, possible society change and everything. Maybe we need a society that's better at looking forward and better at seeing these things and reacting to them. So.
Oh yeah.
So we have this old government designed 200 years ago, and it was designed to be slow, and it was designed to not be reactive. And maybe given the new problems, we need a new kind of government. So.
Yeah, we just can't let them take away our guns. We need them more than ever.
Well, it is coming down to that. But even then, if there's a real quarantine, you're not going to be able to stop them with a single gun or even 20 guns or whatever. Whenever I think about the gun thing, I just think the military is in a much stronger position. So.
Oh, well, it's not the military. It's the people who didn't prep, who didn't take it seriously. who, they got Rice Krispie treats left over and a couple kids, and you know what I mean? They're supposedly they're starting to let people out of prison here in California. Who knows?
it's they have to, but at the same time, I can see from a gosh, what's that movie? Escape from L.A. or Escape from New York?
Yes.
Yeah, it's one of those where we're on the prison island with the rest of them, and they just released
Right.
them, and they don't have any preps at all. They didn't have a chance at all to make any preps. That would be an awful time to be released. Gosh. But you got to figure they're in some kind of system similar to the way that Kyle's stuck in Peru. They're probably just they're going to release him to I don't know. You couldn't just release him to the street. It's just not fair. I don't know. It's a complex problem because at the same time you can't have them in the jails. That's unsafe. You can't have the migrants, the immigrants in those immigration camps that they made down south. Those are no good. Shut them up before it's a wipeout. And I don't know. There's just, how do you defend against this? But yeah, I don't know what you do with the prisoners. That's because you can't just let them die in there.
Yeah. As far as the Army and the military, the Marines, I trust the Marines, man. They take an oath, defend the Constitution. In a lot of cases, they're just grunts. They do what they're told, but at the same time, they got people higher up that I think they'd take out the president if they had to. You know what I mean?
Historically, the Praetorian Guard, the Roman Secret Service, killed more emperors than anyone else.
Really?
Yeah,
I never heard that.
Yeah, they're called the Praetorian Guard, and time after time, they decide that the emperor has gone crazy or the emperor is not, on their team anymore, and they get rid of him and they bring in the new emperor. So
that's fascinating.
they're classic. So you have to watch the people that are watching you. But yeah,
right,
I don't know about that level of disobedience, but just in general, Governor Sisolak that's in Nevada. What's his name in New York? Governor Cuomo in New York,
yes,
has activated the National Guard, and I'm generally against this, but I think this is the military's time to shine. I'm usually let's not invade, let's not bomb, all these kind of things, but the societal help outs when they helped out during the flood in Hurricane Katrina, when the Army Corps engineer people come in and build a levee or these kind of things. That's
right.
what I like. I like that stuff.
Oh, for sure.
Let's do it.
They have so much experience with humanitarian aid all over the world. Now's the time.
And
the World Health Director said it's time to pull out all the stops.
Well, and the guy was saying, he was like, we're going to mobilize them. We should be mobilizing them tonight. We shouldn't be waiting a day. We shouldn't be waiting till if they're going to build new hospitals or portable hospitals, let's start building them now. Let's get more workers on it. We looked at China and their totalitarian top-down thing, and we saw that they were building hospitals, and the media mocked them. They mocked the Chinese hospitals. They mocked them as unsafe and no building codes, and that it wasn't going to work, and that it was a bad idea and so forth. But those temporary hospitals that they built allowed people to get through the infection without spreading it to their family. So it limited family spread of the disease, which was their number one problem and probably going to be ours too. So it worked.
Yep.
So we have to now reset our systems and get something that works, like building those big hospitals. And last night I recommended that we could use the Las Vegas hotels for this. They're all empty. We have airplanes. We could bring people in here. There's also military bases around here. They could land planes at military bases.
God.
Let's start housing these people. Put them in the hotels, floor by floor.
There's so many rooms.
Yeah, we've got food here that's going to be thrown out soon. That's in the casinos already. They were going to serve it as room service or food in the casinos. All those stockpiles. There's kitchens here designed to cook for people, as well as the food courts and restaurants, other kitchens that could be taken over. Nobody's thinking about these kind of things, but we could set it up now. We could be ready by the time it comes, and we could just, as much as I don't want this is like bringing us all the nuclear radiation again, but let's bring all the sick people to Nevada. Let's put all the sick people in the casinos, in the hotels. You can obviously, they have extra beds, they have extra bedding, they have laundry facilities. Yes, this is definitely nationalizing. It's, not capitalist. It's all those things. It's a slippery slope. But you got a better idea?
No, you got right, Trump.
Yeah, I wish. I mean, any way to reach these people. But no, I mean, just we got to put these ideas out here. I'm sure there's other places with warehouses. Someone said yesterday, schools. We need to start converting all the schools into essentially fever clinics or hospitals, infection clinics. People can't just go home and get their whole family sick. That's probably what they're thinking about right now, and it's just going to get your whole family sick. So
there's a classic one, the converted sports arena and all the pandemic movies.
Yep. I remember they used the Superdome during Katrina, and then the roof collapsed, and it was just this beautiful, like, they're always like, oh, you'll be able to use the sports arenas, and oh, this will be a part of your community, and then when they actually needed it, the roof collapsed. So Vention even agrees with us on Vegas. He thinks that the dry air might be good for the virus. So, and we're going to have heat too. It's going to be hot as F in a month or a month and a half here.
Oh God, it'll become hospital city, just one giant hospital.
That would be it. And we already have a lot of hospitals, a lot of medical staff here, not, an infinite amount or whatever, but there's a college or two. I'm sure we could get all those people. Anybody that has 2 years of training, welcome to the force.
Right.
But
how are they going to transport the people though? They'll get them on the train.
Well, I think, you just have the either have the conductor be a sick person, but then that's bad. They could collapse or something. You could put the pilots in the little boxes in the planes and then kind of seal off the cockpit. Maybe put like a scuba mask on them. They could breathe alternate air. Not great solutions. We could drive them there in buses. Have the bus drivers kind of, wearing scuba masks. But in general, I just think we need to, think about what China did and have a similar plan. Because like that video said, we have 10 days. We have 7 days. It's going to be like Italy here. But we've already got quarantines. Yep. You're stuck at home. I'm stuck at home. It's going to happen. And eventually we're going to be stuck at home for good reason. And we're going to want to be stuck at home. And the fear is going to get us all. We're going to be afraid to go outside, afraid to touch anything, afraid to be near people, afraid of groups. Like the social anxiety that me and the rest of the computer geeks have always had, everybody else is going to have now too. So it's not good. It's not good.
It's not good. It's not good. Well, there is a silver lining. I haven't really figured it out yet, but it's somewhere.
I don't know. I had time to watch some movies yesterday, watching movies and books. I got lots of books and movies here, so it's okay. It's okay for me.
Hey, all right, my friend. Thanks for keeping up the show.
Yeah, thanks so much for calling in, and give us a call anytime.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Thomas. Bye-bye.
All right. And you can give us a call at 1-518-600-1949, or you can Skype us on World Crypto Network. I'll try to keep this show going if we've got some more calls, but it's going to be lunchtime soon. Got to go eat some more rations. Time for more ramen and tuna. I'm not down to that yet, but soon enough. Might even be worth to start taste testing your deeper rations, things that you wouldn't normally eat, but have a day where it's like, okay, time to eat the canned food, time to eat the dry food. But yeah, I think a lot of people are still working through their perishable stacks. They have a lot of frozen stuff, a lot of refrigerator stuff still. Jeremy is worried about vaccination. Would you be willing to pull the trigger to kill me if I refused vaccination? No, we would just vaccinate you. They would just, as much as you don't like it, they would probably incapacitate you and vaccinate you. So again, we're talking about major issues. We're talking about major political issues, but we're also talking about scientific issues. I suppose the alternative is we could just let you get sick and die. That doesn't sound that great, though, because if you infect other people, then you screwed up our whole plan of not having more infected people. So it is a question of where you come down if you want to be part of the society or not part of the society. Maybe you could live on a special island where you could not be vaccinated. And yes, Jeremy could defend himself and have machine guns and stuff to stop people from vaccinating him. But then again, you're not really part of our society. It's a civilization. We have to have sacrifices. I can't I can't yell fire in a crowded theater, but I can go to a movie. So this is a good trade-off for me. I don't really need to yell fire in a crowded theater. So yeah, he says, don't expect thugs to do your dirty work. You're going to be willing to kill if you want things enforced. Once again, the virus is more than willing to kill already. So if we did have a vaccine and you didn't want it because it was conspiracy theory, I think that they could just put you in a room with a bunch of other people who have the virus and you'd get sick anyway. And then you would have wished you had the vaccine. So I don't know, conspiracy theories aside, the vaccine is what we need. It's what we're going to have. And yes, vaccines are weakened versions of viruses. That's how they work. So it might make some people sick. So yes, vaccines are a conspiracy theory because it's a weakened version of the virus. And what they're really going to be working on, they talked about, I think it had the first human trial today in the US, and everybody's like, yeah, we're going to get it faster. But they're going to spend 6 months to a year and a half trying to get the right combination of virus. If they put, this is just, speculation, but if they put 90% virus in and they make everybody sick, obviously too much virus. If they put 10% virus in and not enough people get the antibodies because they don't get sick, too little virus. There's some kind of sweet spot in there where you get sick enough, but not too sick. And that cures the virus. And that's how vaccines generally work from smallpox on. So Jeremy says he doesn't want to be part of the society. That's the problem. You don't get a choice. You're breathing air right now. That air is connected to all the other air, even outside my window. If you poisoned all that air, we're all dead. So, boom, you're connected to us. You can't be. There's that whole thing where you do things by halves, and you're like, okay, go half closer, go half closer, go half closer, and you'll never really meet because you keep going by halves. But the whole time, there's always air in between you. You're already touching. I'm reaching out through this camera, and I'm touching you because we're connected. So. I like the John Galt books. I thought they were fun to read. Ayn Rand and so on, and individualism, and I'm a strong man against the world, and I'm going to create a car all by myself because my brain's so big. And then I get out to the real world, and it's like, no, a single person doesn't make a car. It's a team effort. A single person doesn't make this bookshelf or even any of these books. These books were all written and then edited by another person and maybe a team of people. And then they worked with the original person. They went back. No man is an island. And this is just becoming more and more true as the virus rips through our society. So in China, they don't have a problem. They eat cats and pigs. No racism. Yes, they're open to eating lots of things, but that might also be our problem. Conspiracy theories aside, the eating of bats and the wet markets where you can sell bats and other strange animals may be part of this problem. So maybe, again, controls on our society, limits on what we're able to do. Maybe there's going to be a limit and a rule against eating bats. And Jeremy's going to have to fight to the death for his right to eat bats and maybe even kill people that try to stop him. So I don't know. It seems unlikely. Vention says he hasn't had a cold since he got the cancer a year ago. It might be all the vitamin C. Shout out to Vention. Hope you get better, man. Sorry you got the big C. That's super rough, super scary stuff. Our thoughts and prayers. I don't really pray, but our thoughts and hopes are positive. Our positive ideas are heading your way. So that sucks, man. But he's got 100 grams of vitamin C, and he's doing all right today. So that's a good thing. Let's see. Oh, we got a call. Let's see. I hate the way it shifts back and forth. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Arthur Pug, and I'm calling from London, United Kingdom.
Hi, Arthur. How's it going on? What's your minds on Bitcoin and the virus and everything else? Yeah.
As far as the virus goes, we've very belatedly gone to a kind of self-isolatory, closing schools and all the rest, moved from an earlier keep calm and carry on type of attitude. I mean, on Friday night, I was at the Royal Albert Hall to see Brian Ferry of Roxy Music, 5,000 elderly people who didn't give a damn. On Saturday, the Tate Modern was still showing Andy Warhol. By Sunday, everything had shut down. Now the streets are emptying, and it's beginning to feel a little bit scary.
I read about that Tate Modern Warhol exhibit. I would like to see that. And also Roxy Music, Brian Ferry, that'd be good. There's a great movie you could watch, especially now that we're all stuck at home, called Velvet Goldmine. And it's all about glam rock, and it's not directly based on Bowie or anything like that, but it's very clearly a Bowie and the rest of the crew. Great soundtrack too, Velvet Goldmine. Check that out. So
I shall check it out. So I mean, the one good thing I guess we can look forward to, as long as the internet keeps working, is catching up on some old movies, books, and I'd like to improve my chess.
Yeah, me too. Mine's lousy. But did you get a chance to stock up? Did it go from 0 to 100, or do you already have some supplies at home?
Yeah, well, really since Christmas, when, Bitcoiners, especially people like box mining in Hong Kong, were talking about this, we've had, 3 months to slowly build up tin foods and all the rest. So I'm pretty well stocked. I've been stealing a couple of rolls of toilet paper from my gym over the last couple of weeks. So I have TP from my bunghole.
So is it an official lockdown, or are you just locking down by choice right now?
It's not official. I had just spoke to my mother. It's Mothering Sunday here on this weekend. And I was all set to go up and see her. But so Boris Johnson just said schools will close from Friday. We'll probably follow the French who have I think you have to have a print out a sheet to say your reason for even leaving the house now. I'm sure we'll be about a week behind them.
I know it's not what anyone wants, but we really do need top-down government-controlled lockdowns. The problem is they don't work any other way. If you just kind of loosey-goosey go about it, people will find a reason to go out. They'll say they have to do this. They'll say they have to do that. And then they'll spread the disease. If we really want to halt the disease, one way would be the vaccine, but that's going to take at least a year and a half. The other way would be this staying home, not spreading the disease. And it's not sexy, and it's not fun, and it definitely makes everyone think that we're in a science fiction movie. And I think pretty soon we're going to have to start talking about the second level of this, the anxiety from staying home, the post-traumatic stress disorder, all the other things that we're getting, because these are very real. I'm anxious now, you're anxious now, and we're anxious for a good reason. We're locked inside our house, avoiding a killer virus, eating whatever food we have left over. That's going to make you anxious. How does that make you feel? How does it make any normal, reactive human feel? It makes you anxious. So you're okay, I'm okay. We're all in the control group. We're going through this experiment together. But I do think it's definitely going to accelerate. We're still just in the early days.
I'm leaning towards your point of view. Originally, I have more sympathy for somebody like Adam Meister, who's been saying, healthy people should still be out working, the economy should be not collapsing, trillions of dollars should not be being printed, zero interest rates should not be at zero, etc., etc. But the trouble is, if ventilators and hospital beds are overwhelmed because people aren't self-isolating, you'll get a situation like in Italy where doctors were having to choose who lived and who died over the last 2 weeks. So I'm certainly warming to the people have to take personal responsibility, although an awful lot of young people are writing this off as a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, I watched Adam's 2-minute video this morning. It's gone around the internet pretty well, but I couldn't really agree with him. He was spouting a lot of the "it's not so bad" and "it's a conspiracy" or "you should just go out" or "you should still keep making money" or whatever. And I think we're well beyond that. Sure, it could be a conspiracy theory in the beginning. several of our failings may look like conspiracy theories, but at the core, we just have this incredible virus. It's just great at what it does. And the way to fight it is to stay home. And the way to get people to stay home is government controls. And nobody likes that. But if we want to win, if we want to defeat this virus, that's what we're going to have to do.
I was looking over the last weekend at things like little gasoline-powered generators that you can pick up for $150. At least you could run, let's say, I've already got a satellite dish pointed at Sky, which is a television service, and it's the same satellite that's broadcasting the Blockstream blockchain. So with a little powered generator, I figured at least, if things really get bad and we get into Mad Max territory, we could run a node and transact with immunity.
At least you could keep Bitcoining. I don't know if we lose power, if we lose internet at this point, we're in kind of another, I refer to it all the time. Maybe it's a great time for you guys to actually read it, but Player Piano by Kurt Vonnegut Jr. It was his first book, and he wrote about how everyone had to stay home because they would just go out and smash the machines. So they'd actually pay people to stay home and watch TV so that they wouldn't smash the machines. Just as right now, we need to pay people to stay home and not spread the disease. And I think we have to keep the internet on. I think they probably are going to have to nationalize or make the internet free or give people money for internet because things are pretty sane right now. Everybody's at home. They're watching Netflix. You're watching this show. People are watching the news. It's okay. They're passive. They're watching something. If there wasn't anything to watch, if there wasn't anything on Netflix, if you couldn't connect to the internet, I think people would freak out. So we better keep that internet running.
Yeah, not me. I mean, I've got one of those. I don't know what you call them. It's like a Kindle, but the non-branded version, and I've torrented literally hundreds of books on composers and Shostakovich and Snowden's book, The Bitcoin Billionaires. All these things I would never usually have time. So let's look on the bright side and stay in touch with ourselves.
Yeah, let's start reading those books we didn't have time for, or movies you didn't have time for. I definitely have a lot of physical books here, just in case the internet goes off or the power goes off. You can keep reading. Hopefully you have at least a couple of normal books as well, just in case. Charging the Kindle might be tough in the future. Maybe a good time to charge up all your external batteries. Make sure you're ready in case things go down. Charging your phone could be a problem too. We have like an exercise bike. I don't know. It's too bad it doesn't have USB power just on it or something. You'd have to science it. You'd have to figure it out how you can get the energy from the bike and put it into the battery and so on and so forth. I think I have a little radio charger thing that has a solar panel on it. That might be able to charge a phone. But things like this are suddenly becoming more and more valuable, and more rare too.
Well, I'm Thomas, and I will talk to you again soon, I hope.
Well, thanks so much for the call, and give us a call anytime. Stay home and stay safe.
Likewise.
Right on. All right. And you can give us a call now on Skype at World Crypto Network, all one word, or at 1-518-600-1949. Looks like the chat is pushing back on Jeremy. Jeremy's kind of playing the anti-vaxxer today, which again might even be just devil's advocate, which is a really great way to learn, is to pick an opposite position on something and try to argue it so that you can really understand the positive case. So Jeremy says, just saying it would be crazy out there if no one was left unvaccinated. Who would survive if something went wrong? Wipe out all humans because they were following orders. And that's why I think we need to test the vaccine first. And that's why I think the testing will be so serious on the vaccine. If it could have other problems, if it could spread the disease, I really think that's part of the scientific project of testing these things. Now, if there's a secret conspiracy and they come in at the last minute and they inject all of the fixes with their secret conspiracy. Well, we couldn't figure that out in the testing process. So at a certain point, yeah, secret conspiracy wins anything. But from a scientific perspective, I think they're going to test the vaccine. I think it's going to be safe. I think they're in a hurry, though. So that leads to less good testing, less good methodology. But it's tough. Attack for Alt says, vaccines are tricky stuff. If they use the antigen and it mutates, it might not work. If they use part of the RNA, goodness knows what kind of problems could result. Because, yeah, you could end up making a stronger disease and then spreading it through the vaccine. They're saying if Greta was in charge of vaccines, she'd wipe out 90% of the population to save the planet. I'm not so sure. I don't think that she's a mass murderer. I think she's just saying that people should not fly and people should, not travel as much, and we should try to save the environment. And from her perspective, as a child, her future is pretty much where we're in right now in this kind of quarantine thing. So she's trying to avoid that. These pandemics are also probably related and caused by global warming and so on and so forth, our weakened immune systems, viruses getting stronger, things like this. I really don't think that. So, yeah, Yuval says they test vaccines. They're already doing human trials. He's against forced vaccines. But, yeah, it's the same thing with the forcing people to stay home, martial law, and having the National Guard involved. We do what works. We can try. We've tried before the whole voluntary quarantine, and someone always breaks it. Someone always goes out and they spread the disease, and it doesn't work, and everything negates back to normal. That's just not going to work. So I don't know about voluntary quarantine or voluntary vaccination, and I'm pretty sure most people are going to be desperate and psyched to get this vaccination, even if it is the secret government conspiracy drug that makes everyone into a zombie. At least we'll beat the coronavirus. So, I don't know. They say, you've got to have preps. Vention's got a colloidal silver generator. That's supposed to make you healthy. I don't know much about it. Andy says that he doesn't do what kids tell him to do. There you go. Stand up for yourself. Damn right. Don't do what people tell you to do. Ha. Nonsense. Like that was going to play. But I think we're heading towards the end of the show here. Thanks so much to everybody for joining us. Looking for the fundraiser, not finding it. Surrealism. We talked about pragmatism, idealism. You can have a colloidal silver generator that you put in a nebulizer and get a cold and breathe a vapor and it'll knock down your pneumonia. So pretty cool. But thanks so much to everybody for watching. We're still trying to raise funds here at the show. If you want to donate $5-10 in Bitcoin, last week it used to be $10 or $20. Whoop. So it goes. But thanks so much. You can also donate through the YouTube chat and give us a thumbs up, and a share is a great way to donate. Spread the word on Twitter, retweet the message, write an article about it, upload it to Reddit. All of these things are great ways to spread the word about the show. But we had a great time chatting with you this morning. Starting to lose my voice from talking too much. But until next time, bye-bye.